Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. Also joining us this week, another one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Rakush. Hey, Rakush.
What up? Again?
Cool.
We're doing this again?
Classic.
Okay, how's it going?
Classic.
We still need to work on the flow of your introduction, but that's something we can workshop.
I just have to get used to you ending the sentence after like the hey Rakush instead of like a follow-up question, you know? So it takes time, man. Chemistry will happen, you know?
It's only our 14th year doing this show.
Hey, I have not been here for at least a year and a half consistently, so, you know, cut me some slack.
To be fair, the overlap between me and Rakush on episodes is pretty slim. Rakush being the backup when I disappear to who knows where. But another week, once again, joined by some of my best friends in the whole wide world. And boys, tis the season where we're rapidly approaching the end of November somehow. And that means we have the holiday season coming up in December, and that means hella fam jams. And Rakush, I think you mentioned that, well, maybe not fam jam adjacent, you partook in a potluck recently, correct?
So it's coming up. But it's like there was a potluck a couple of weeks back that I couldn't make it to for a different reason. Then there was a team lunch last week that I was able to make it to. It was the first time I'd eaten a potato in something like 3 weeks, and I almost broke down in tears in front of my coworkers. But hey, that's not the conversation. There's another potluck that's coming up soon. And I'm starting to feel a little peer pressure that I need to actually put some effort into taking something into the office. Now, you guys like don't go into the office regularly, right? Like it's like 90% remote, 99% remote for you guys?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least for me.
So I'm currently at like a 50% hybrid thing where it's like, you know, you essentially got to be in 3 days 1 week, 2 days another week. So it's going to be a lot of people. And I'm starting to feel this pressure of like, you know, I have not cooked for a big-ish group in a long time. And like, I have no idea what to take to this potluck. And it's also like weird because I am currently like quote unquote dieting. Like I'm trying not to eat a few certain things. So like I don't have butter at home. I don't have like a lot of cheese at home. Like I don't even have all-purpose flour at home yet. I just have like that pizza flour that you bought for my housewarming, Matt. Thank you for that. And the cornmeal, which I'm probably going to use for potentially what I'm making. But like I'm starting to feel the pressure, guys. And like I need some advice on what I do for this upcoming potluck, and also something that is easy to transport on the subway, because that's honestly the more annoying part.
That's the part that really puts a wrench in any potential plans. The transportation, especially if you're taking the public transit variety. Where are we? Rakush, you said something interesting to me, that you want to make something home cooked. And I guess my initial question to the both of you before we dig deep into Rakush's, problems, so to speak, what's your stance on potluck etiquette when it comes to bringing something? Are you mostly home cook, or are you purchasing something in bulk?
I mean, personally for me, when I was my workplace was still in person, at the very first potluck I did at my company, I think I went and established a setup for me for all future potlucks, which is that I bought a fondue machine.
Okay.
And I would bring the fondue machine every single potluck, because that was just, the thing that I would bring, because one, at the time, wanted a fondue machine, and two, it seemed like a good idea for bringing something that doesn't seem like a total cop out for potlucks.
Fair. Rakush, can you bring a fondue machine?
No, I don't have a fondue machine. I mean, it's a unique idea. It's an interesting idea, but I have a lot of questions about the logistics of a fondue machine being taken into the office. First off, how big was that box that you were carrying?
It wasn't that big. Sorry. When I'm saying a fondue machine, I more so mean like one of those like big, basically a slow cooking pot in essence.
Oh, right.
Not the fountain, not the fountain kind of thing. It's like the pot.
That raises more questions. Like, is that still not bigger to transport? Like, aren't you?
No, I think those are pretty portable, especially for.
Yeah, it's smaller than a bowl of pho, basically.
No way.
As someone who has brought 2 portrait frames on public transit, I think Matt's slow cooker fondue is within the realm of what I would expect someone to hold on a subway and not bat an eye. Where I feel like if you're able to rest it on your lap, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Assuming you're able to get a seat, which brings another question, Rakush. Depending on what time you go, will you have a seat in question? So
I think I'm fortunate enough because I'm at like the very first subway stop. So like if I have to just kind of like make it all the way down to the station while sitting, I can do that easily. But I also kind of just want to try avoiding any sort of like liquidy shit.
Fair.
So okay, I got an idea. I need to run this by you guys. Okay. So I'm gonna take an ice cream, I'm gonna take a cake. No, I'm joking. No, I'm thinking of making like cornbread on a skillet and then just like cutting it up and then like putting it in a box and taking it with me. Feels like a safe bet, but I have a little bit concerned that shit's gonna get burnt on the bottom. At that point, what is the etiquette on taking shit that is not exactly to your specifications or like to your liking?
Have you said I guess like that you're going to bring your cornbread to your company already?
No, I'm going into the office tomorrow, and I'm probably gonna, hint at something because it's gonna come up. But like, I have not announced it yet. No.
So you don't even like pick categories on like what you're bringing.
Look, man, I only found out today that there's a potluck 3 days from today. I thought it was just a like team lunch that we were just gonna go and buy our own lunch and then chill out for like an hour together. No, it's a potluck.
I feel like cornbread would be actually. I think cornbread's a pretty good idea, just because with especially a work potluck, I feel like you want to bring something that is okay at room temperature.
Yeah.
Something that people might not necessarily be able to warm up, but still holds really well. And I feel like a cornbread would be okay there. It tends to stay pretty moist throughout the morning at the very least. Will hold until lunch. And I think cornbread might be the best idea. Where my follow-up question to you both, in terms of potlucks, do you put more effort into a work potluck or, okay, I feel like this is self-explanatory, or this will be easily answerable, but work potlucks, you put less effort than a family potluck, correct?
Yeah, yeah, generally.
Really? I don't know if I would put more effort into a fam jam potluck.
Really?
Because I feel like, okay, family is more forgiving, at least in my eyes, than relative strangers or like colleagues or acquaintances would be. And I also don't want like workplace gossip about like, oh my god, like that cornbread was so burnt and stuff. Like I've got like all these like scenarios playing in my head that like I get overly insecure about. But if it happens with the family, it's just kind of like, all right, my bad, I'll fix it next time when I make it. You know what I'm saying?
Fair. Okay, I can see where you're coming from. But I guess my last potluck adjacent question to you both. What's your stance on bringing fast food as your potluck offering? Just because I've seen a lot, I've been being served a lot of TikTok of, hey, this is our friend potluck, this is what everyone brought. And immediately whenever I see someone bring pizza, I'll check the comments, and comments being lit up saying whoever brought pizza is foul. So what's your stance on fast food offerings in potlucks?
I mean, the only potluck I've done with the two of you that I can remember was Julian's going away thing. And I remember I bought 20 Junior chickens, either with Matt or with friend of the show, Mikey. And I brought that to the potluck. So, Yeah, I'm pretty open to it.
Yeah, I didn't even go to that. But
oh,
I think
right,
it
yeah,
does
we
depend.
photoshopped you in it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it does depend on the group that that you're having the potluck with.
Fair.
Because
yeah, I see that.
I feel like the 20 junior chickens is a play that I would personally enjoy seeing. Like, I think that's a good goof. And personally, like, I think a pizza at a work potluck, I think is okay. Because, it's less personal. I guess it depends on, like, the work environment, though.
I think for me, this might sound weird, but like I'm not above a pizza. If someone brings a pizza to a potluck, I'll eat the pizza. But I'll raise an eyebrow at someone bringing pizza. But if someone brought a bucket of fried chicken, game over. I'm devouring that. Where I think there's tiers to fast food offerings, and fried chicken. If you brought fried chicken, if you brought, whether it be the KFC, the Jollibee variety, or just some Korean fried chicken. Not batting an eye, scarfing that down.
If I have a Korean fried chicken to a potluck, I feel like that is one of those things that goes slightly beyond bringing fast food.
Fair.
Because
fair.
Thinking back to the pizza, I was imagining like, an artisanal pizza, not an artisanal pizza, but like a higher tier pizza.
Nope, we're talking about hot and ready's and $11.99 pepperonis from Pizza.
Yeah, if someone brought those, I think I would be more iffy on that. But I think if you bring, a higher tier places kind of like pizza or, food, that's fine.
I think we might need to do a future episode on like potluck fast food tiers.
Fair. But I'll say it now before Rakush finishes up. Next time we have a potluck, boys, I'm going to bring the old, the reliable Domino's medium pan pizza with extra garpar, extra cheese, Philly cheesesteak, mushroom, and bacon.
Reliable.
This guy.
Man, you guys have not eaten a pizza since like August. It's really hurting.
Wow. Why do you hate Italian people?
Damn, hate to see it.
Damn.
No,
Mario would feel so bad right now.
Not get the WoW ready for so we can protect Rakush once again.
Oh god.
So Rakush, as someone who brought forth the potluck inquiry, what's your final takeaway from our discussion?
I think my final takeaway is I really wish I could have just ordered some Uber Eats to this thing, but
you can.
Yeah.
Just order it and put it in a like a Tupperware or something and bring that. They're not going to know.
That's lying, Matt.
Dude,
that's lying.
You live in an area where there are so many restaurants. You can just buy, a catered order meal from one of them and just bring it.
I'd still also have to transport that like 45 minutes to the office. If I'm going to Uber Eats it, I'd much rather just do it downtown.
Rakush, you could
just pick up a catered order downtown, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I feel like I should make something. Like, I got signed up for the Bake Club, which I've actually not participated in once in the 3 months that I've been signed up for it. And
there's a
I'm starting to feel
club
bad.
At your work?
I mean, yeah, it's like, those... We do it for, like, if there's any sort of, like, charitable events or, like, just special causes that are happening, things like that. And it's, like, honestly very chill. Like, you just kind of make it when you can. I really haven't had any time to make it recently, nor do I have the ingredients. But yeah, like, it's very laid back like that. But I'm starting to feel a little bit of that pressure of like, I've been talking up that game, I've been talking about cooking stuff. I kind of need to do something.
Okay, here's what you do. You get into your automobile. You go on the 401.
Yeah.
You go down to the Costco. And then you buy 3 rotisserie chickens and you cut those up. And then you go to the bakery and then you ask them for a box of their frozen cookies. Easy peasy.
Put ice cream on the cake.
And then you go to the Hot Foods and get 20 glizzies.
20 glizzies?
Yep.
Jesus.
You're covered. Okay. You're covered for potluck. If you brought Costco glizzies to your work potluck, hero.
Okay.
Employee of the month.
Okay, we were talking about like potluck pizzas. Where does the Costco pizza at a potluck rank? Maybe we find that out at the tier episode.
I feel like I've only ever gotten slices at a Costco that I can't imagine a Costco pizza.
Really? You've never gotten a full pizza from Costco?
I've never been in a circumstance where I would have a whole Costco pizza.
You absolutely should just go get a full Costco pizza.
Or for the price of that one Costco pizza, Matt, stock up on the glizzies. Stock up on the glizzies. Don't get the ice cream, though.
The ice cream's okay, yeah.
No, they scam you out of the ice cream. Yeah, it's not worth it.
I will keep you guys posted next week on what happens with the potluck. It is the most anticipated event of the year for me, I guess. I don't know.
Fair enough, Rakush. We look forward to your updates, and we look forward to ranking potluck.
Fast food joints?
Or just potluck things in general. Okay. Hear me out. Next time we need a vault episode, we go to our friends and we ask them, hey, if we had a potluck, what would you bring? And then we rank everything our friends suggest. Keep that in the chamber for now, but Matt and Rakush, we successfully had 1/3 of this episode dedicated to talking about potlucks. So I feel like we need to talk about our adjacent mistakes for the week. And what better way than to talk about one of me and Matt's favorite pastimes, and that's consuming VTuber content. So Matt, new update this week for fan favorite Hololive fan game Holocure, the 0.7 update. Recently released, and Matt, Beefy Boy update that introduced, I believe, 9 new characters, a slight rework to an existing character, and a whole bunch of other mini games. So, Matt, since we both have some hours with the latest update, what are your initial impressions of Holocure 0.7?
I really like how Watame plays in the new Holocure update.
Okay.
And I was just so surprised at how mad people got at the Tower of Suffering that was added in this update, because, I decided to go check out the Steam page for Holocure.
Now that's rough. That's rough. Any uncurated Steam forums or discussion boards is, let's say there are other places on the internet I'd rather be. But yes, Tower of Suffering has been a discussion ever since this update has come out. And this is essentially Holocure's take on, a rage game, or I think the one most closely resembling it, or, a tribute to, is Jump King. And Matt, this is so out of the wheelhouse of what Holocure is, which, at its core is a twin stick shooter, twin stick survivor game, where all of a sudden you attach a Steam achievement to a rage platformer and people are not happy. Matt, are you happy with the Tower of Suffering?
I am not happy, but I'm not mad at it. I'm quite neutral at it. I mean, I feel like it is the easiest version of one of those rage games.
Especially with the checkpoint system that it has as
especially with the checkpoint system, especially with the bar that shows like your jump strength. Like, I understand why people are mad, because I feel like this is the first time in all of Holocure's history, I guess, that it has been getting any kind of negative reviews on Steam.
Right.
And again, I don't know, something about that just amuses me.
There's something about, I don't know, the fixation of Steam achievements in general, which, from what I saw, this is where it's stemming from, of you have a set of achievements that, for the most part, aren't necessarily skill-gated, but more so, time-gated in a way where you have to grind for most of these achievements. I think, for some of the ones that are like, clear a hard mode stage without getting any healing items, or clear a hardcore mode stage, I think those with the proper build, again, you're just grinding towards that build. You're not necessarily having to go with trying to do a precision platformer that one wrong move, you can lose all your progress. So I think that's also just been a site to look at into of why people, dislike it, to the point where Kay, the lead dev, has said that he's going to I believe rework the Steam achievement and then have a separate achievement page for the more intense skill based achievements. But Rakush, I know you're not necessarily a fan of the VTubers, but I have 2 follow-up questions for you as well.
Let's hear 'em.
What's your take on the rage games? Something like a Jump King, something like a Getting Over It, something like a Chain Together. Is that something in your forte or not for you?
I think they're great Twitch games. I don't think it's something I personally like playing. There's just, I think like there's too much stress involved with that like, listen, I can't even play online games because of stress, right? And then it's like these games are specifically designed to stress you out, and I just don't want that for my gaming experience.
Okay. And I guess since you just listened to me and Matt talk about the current quote-unquote achievement controversy, what's kind of your take on retroactively fixing achievements based on community reception?
It's not something I've given a lot of thought to be honest with you.
It's such a weird case. That's why I do find the discourse so interesting.
It's unique for sure, right? Because I guess like for me personally, I don't really go and replay a lot of games either, and I don't play a lot of ongoing games outside of like, your typical gacha games and stuff like that. So achievements for ongoing games that get like retroactively added or removed or fixed, like those feel a little bit weird at first thought, but like I'm not sure, like does it help a person progress their experience in the game? Like, is there like, a roadblock that they can get through if they just get this achievement or something like that? If it helps, then sure, I guess. But yeah, it is unique. Like I'm honestly, I don't think I can formulate like a full thought on it just with like hearing the two of you talk about it right now, if that makes sense.
Fair. And yeah, it's just kind of a weird reception to see to, otherwise a pretty positively, received the game in both the VTuber community and just kind of the gaming sphere in general for those who are into this genre. But Matt, you said you liked Watame. Have there been any other characters from this new update that have caught your attention?
I mean, obviously, I think Noelle is also a big standout. And I think personally for me, the other character that I really liked this update is Toa.
At first, I wasn't like, I understand her basic attack essentially being like an assault rifle shot, but I feel like once you start to build her with her skills, she does become a pretty fun character as well. Where she is one of the characters that I do like playing. I'm still trying to Gachiko a lot of the characters, but I think Noelle in particular has been the one that is my new crutch character, replacing Fauna of I need to clear stage 4 hard, I need to clear stage 5. But speaking about the new stages, Matt, any thoughts on stage 5 and stage 4 hard?
Stage 5 is... I honestly feel like stage 5 has too many, I guess, I don't know what to call it. Like, like the cannonballs and stuff. Yeah. Like, it has too many red zones for me to find it fun to play. And they come so often. It's really
the environment hazards more so for stage 5 is something that I also kind of noticed in between not only Marine's cannon, but the exploding enemies or the ones with the rush patterns that happen quite often. I thought where it's kind of what I've been worrying about ever since, stage 3 hard. And it's kind of the Elden Ring DLC problem all over again of there's this kind of gradual difficulty that with each new update, with each new stage, you kind of have to keep ramping it up. And at this point, what does ramping up mean to something like Holocure, which seems to be, will make it more of a bullet hell, and then hopefully your build will at least negate that to some degree. But as someone who likes a AFK playstyle, Holocure isn't a game for that. But yeah, in terms of, I guess that's what I also wanted to ask you, Matt, of trying to gradually keep increasing the difficulty of these stages. What did you think of the stage 4 hard gimmick of Ollie midway through asking you a series of math questions? How do you feel about those gimmicks just in general in these levels?
I like that gimmick. I thought that gimmick was very unexpected, and I liked interacting with it, and also hated just that, hey, I'm bad at math now and how not to do it like under pressure and also while I'm trying to dodge things. But I think I would like it if the normal levels kind of topped out at the current normal level difficulty. Honestly, I think I would more so lean towards 4 than I would 5.
Right.
For normal level difficulty, and then all the hard levels will get a Ollie math problem type of question, or not question, type of mechanic. Like, right. I want KU to steal basically Destiny raids and turn them into Holocure levels. Because I'm pretty sure the math thing was like slightly lifted from a Final Fantasy 14 raid.
Which is pretty good. And yeah, because you assume like he'll have to hit all the future, Hololive production gens and hopefully the Holostar gens. And each one of those has their own corresponding levels where I agree. I feel like there should be at least a base difficulty, but it's the level gimmicks that get slightly more interactive that will really help, I feel, like add more variety rather than just I need to dodge everything, which again is fun in itself, but I'm worried that future levels are just that. But the Stage 4 hard and all these math question is definitely something that kind of gives me hope for how creative Kay and the team can be with levels coming up. But Matt, Hollow House also saw an update with, as we said, Tower of Suffering, but also the USADA Casino and also mining with Chiquilla, where I appreciate and applaud Kay's attempt to make this an everything game. So before we kind of get into the specifics, Matt, what genres or, games within this realm do you think lend themselves for future Hollow House updates?
I mean, I think we kind of like talked about this before, but now that Tower of Suffering is in this game, I feel like that opens the floodgates for what the rest of the games can be.
Right.
Because now I basically just want like, I don't know, like Spelunky in this game or something.
It's kind of weird where, again, this starts off as a fan game, a survivor twin stick shooter, and now it's sort of becoming a UFO 50 of sorts with all of these, not necessarily super fleshed out games, but I would say the casino having, your standard casino games, but also the ones that involve your workers and the really basic farming, the really basic mining, the really basic fishing, where honestly he could probably just lift up from WarioWare and sort of go with the micro games and then flesh them out just a bit more. But in terms of USADA Casino, Matt, how much time have you spent there?
Jaren, I walked in, I kind of just looked at all the games and then I went onto the Holocure subreddit and I started looking for like most efficient game to farm for money.
Matt, have you joined me in the church of make your Steam controller have a auto button and just sit on and just AFK at the slots for hours on end?
I was thinking about that. When you showed me that you were doing that this morning, I thought, maybe I should just do that instead of looking up how people are gaming the system on the subreddit.
But yeah, I feel like Blackjack is notably hard, but I feel like the slots, especially if you kind of AFK it, the payouts are there. It just takes a bit of a time. But Holocure 0.7, again, even if you're not a Hololive fan, of course, if you are, you'll find a ton of different references, just a lot of callbacks to the talent, their fan bases. But I think as a Survivor game, it's still pretty solid and one of the front runners in the genre as a whole. But I think just as a passion project, there's something I just respect from Kay and his team of, just dedicated fans working on something of this quality and just giving it out for free, where the meme of let me give you money still stands here. But any closing thoughts on the latest Holocure update, Matt?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to happen for the future gens. I'm wondering like how they are going to continue making kind of unique characters, because I feel like this was the kind of first time where I really felt that the kind of character gimmicks, or not gimmicks, but like, character styles are really overlapping or have really been done before. Like, I think Watami's was like an interesting thing, like her hurting enemies from healing items was like a unique kind of mechanic that really stood out to me. But I also feel like half the characters in this update came with like gauges.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm just like over like thinking that or not, but like I'm wondering what they're going to be doing for future characters to maybe try to keep it more fresh.
Yeah, I know everyone's still trying to fan theory how someone, or how Fuala and Mokoko, or Fuala Moko are going to play. But yeah, again, it's, you have all these defining characters with their own memes, but at some point you're bound to get more overlap than not. And especially if you bring Hollow Stars into the fold eventually, that's even more potential overlap. But Matt, as someone with Hollow Live talent knowledge, 0.8, who do you think we see in that update?
I mean, I feel like that has to be Advent and Justice, right?
Yeah,
like,
we got an ID last JP here. Yeah.
Are all the JPs? No, they need
Gen 5
still.
and Holocks, and then you have the device girls as well. Which
I feel like they would be last no matter like what order you do the other gens.
So in theory, if 0.8 we see the rest of the EN girls, and then 0.9 we see the rest of the JP girls, do you think this jumps straight to 1.0, or do you think we have a 0.9.1 situation?
I think that once all current Hollow Live specific and like I guess like Devis members are added, I think it'll go to 1.
Okay.
Assuming that like a gen doesn't just release between these patches.
You never know, Matt. You never know. But that's Holocure 0.7 available now on Steam, and itch. I believe IO is still up there as well. Rakush,
what's up?
If you had a VTuber persona, what would your VTuber persona be?
Grumpy old man who grunts all the time.
Cool.
No, VTuber persona.
Grumpy old girl who groans all the time.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's a good call. That's a good call.
Good archetype. But other than thinking about potlucks, Rakush, what have you been up to this week?
I'll talk about it a little bit more on like future episodes because I haven't done a lot of it, but I did play a little bit of Yakuza Kiwami. Got inspired by the TV show, not in a good way, more so in just like a how did they mess this up kind of way. Right. So that's where I'm at with that one. But
actually, Rakush, you're playing Kiwami, correct? And
yes,
is this your first time playing a Yakuza game, or are you just revisiting the franchise?
It's not the first time I'm playing it, but it is the first time I'm playing Kiwami.
Okay.
Sorry, not the first time I'm playing the franchise, I should say. So, like, the gameplay is a little bit familiar, but I felt just kind of like I wanted to start from the beginning because I don't know about you guys. Sometimes starting, like, in the middle installment of a franchise, like, some of the mechanics feel kind of like a given if you played the earlier games, and it never felt like that for me, so I just kind of wanted to get that clean start. And yeah, so far it's been interesting. I will share more about it once I catch up to like, a little bit more of the actual story in the game. So far I've just kind of been running around and like doing side missions. There's one called Crisis in the Crapper. That was fantastic. So it seems like it's right up my alley, and yeah, that should be fun.
Okay.
But Matt, I guess like this is where we can chat about it a little bit. I did continue watching Arcane. Haven't watched the latest episode. Did watch episodes 4 and 5. You're caught up on the series?
Yeah, I'm currently caught up on it.
Okay. I guess we'll get into some spoilery stuff with this one. What did you think about the Warwick stuff?
I don't like it.
Okay, this is... I was honestly expecting to kind of disagree with you because you were going to show up and be like, I love it and stuff, but I think I'm in the same boat as you, dude. I don't think I love it.
I, first off, do not like how Warwick looks.
Okay, same. I fucking hate the design. Sorry for the language. I hate the design.
Yeah.
Can't stand it.
Like, I really hope that Warwick becomes more wolf-shaped in the next arc.
Like, make him a werewolf. That's all he is. Like, you didn't have to complicate it too much, right? Like, I feel like they fell in the trap of needing him to look like Vander? Xander?
Vander, yeah.
Vander, yeah. Sorry, I know a baseball player named Xander, but yeah, they fell into the trap of trying to make him look like Vander. And I don't know if they needed to do that, man. I think it was kind of obvious. Like, yeah. Without the character design looking like him, I thought it was obvious enough in a sort of like meta speak sense that like you can reveal it to the characters in a different way, but like the audience would very obviously know who it is.
Yeah, like I really don't like that they kind of gave him a weird sort of almost like a Yeti look.
Yeah.
Instead of like a werewolf look.
So, okay. I do want to bring Jaren into this a little bit because we're talking about design stuff. So, Jared, while we're talking about these spoilery parts of the episode, do you want to look up what the video game version of Warwick looks like and what the show version of Warwick looks like? Because I would love to get your thoughts on that too, just from an outside standpoint on this. Matt, what else? Okay, what did you think about like the first person element of like the Warwick scenes where like it's from his perspective and he's seeing red? What did you think about those parts?
I conceptually liked the scenes, but I thought the execution of it was, I think that for me it was like 80% of the way to being really good for me, but the 20% where it fell made it fall hard for me, which is that I thought it looked too choppy. I understand, like, you know, I think it's like a cool look. You know, the kind of following of a scent trail, I guess, to introduce, you know, Warwick for the first time. But maybe I'm like just misremembering this, but I felt like those scenes were all very like frames per second choppy. And I didn't like that at all.
I think my issue with those scenes, because I did have an issue as well, I think my issue with them was it felt a little bit out of place with the rest of the design choices and the animation style. And it felt too 2D to me.
I thought it slotted in just kind of because Arcane as a whole has been shifting its art style around a lot. So it kind of like slotted itself in for me in that sense.
So to me, and I will say this again, subjective, and it could be unfair to the animators for the amount of effort it actually takes to do this stuff. I don't know the effort level and the skill set that it takes to animate what they just animated for those scenes. But it felt like the way the rest of the episode was animated, there was enough layering on the regular scenes to be able to tell like they're doing something very unique with it. And I felt like with Warwick scenes, at least from like the first person point of view, it just kind of felt like it was lacking some of those layers. And it might have been a design choice because maybe they were trying to drive home the point that like this is a person that's this is a monster, right? Like no sense of like reasoning or anything like that. And yeah, like in that sense it could be fine, and I can respect that decision that they made, but it just kind of felt like something was missing from it for me. It's kind of the same feeling I've had about the opening 5 minutes of the first 4 episodes, where they were kind of doing like that sort of like visual like summary, I guess, of like, just things that have happened between episodes. It's almost like a quick time skip of sorts. That's like 2.5D, really well done sort of stuff. This stuff just kind of felt like it was lacking something a little bit to me. But conceptually, I do like the idea of like the scent trail and like, things like that, like the shark-like effect. It is cool. It just, like I wish they'd done something different with it. And it's really like the first part of the series that I was actually a little bit bummed out by, because they've been building up Warwick's introduction so much. And I just kind of felt like, like a lot of the decisions that they made it choppy. It kind of fell flat. It even felt choppy when they were like in the editing, I guess. Like it was too shaky. There were not enough clear shots of him until he became human. Again, it might be a design choice just to kind of like drive home the sense of like humanity that came back to him and stuff. I don't know. I just I didn't personally love it. So kind of bummed out about that. But the rest of it is like the story is still kind of progressing interestingly. Like I am curious to see what's coming up in episode 6, because it ended on an interesting cliffhanger with Jace. And this, just reading like that one paragraph summary that every episode has, it does sound like it's setting up some cool stuff for the third act of the season.
Yeah, I thought episode 6 like does end in a very satisfying way.
Okay.
And I'm really looking forward to like this last arc afterwards.
Got it. I also have a question for you, because you mentioned on the last episode that the Black Rose was like your favorite sort of like plot and group of characters from League of Legends.
No, not exactly. I just like all the characters in the Black Rose, so I was expecting to be disappointed at how much time they would get in the show.
So how are you feeling about it after the second act?
I am continuing to be disappointed at the amount of time the Black Rose characters are going to be getting in the show.
Do you feel like that's one of those threads that they might be setting up for a future show?
I don't really know, because the amount of stuff that they showed with regards to the Black Rose, and more specifically towards Mel for this arc, doesn't get expanded in episode 6, just so that you know. So everything that you've seen so far is what you see for the Black Rose. And I felt like that whole plot line of Mel in the, I guess, like dungeon was really weird.
That's supposed to be LeBlanc, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming it is LeBlanc, but I felt like it moved in such a strange way, and nothing, at least for me, I felt like nothing happened in all those scenes, really.
That's fair. I think, like, this is where it gets a little bit interesting with what they're going to do with these shows moving forward, right? So there is a very clear, like, they've been clear, season 2 is the final part of this story. Zon and Piltover, they're kind of going to be done with this part of the lore.
Yes.
But they've also introduced Noxus this season, and the Noxians. There's a lot of backstory there, and I feel like Noxians are kind of like the antagonists of League of Legends lore, right? Like if you read up on them, it kind of feels like they're at least one of the big two. So it makes sense to me that like some of these characters that, or like, some of these organizations like the Back Rows that we're getting introduced to might be getting set up for a future series, because I could see these characters very easily being brought up on a future series, right? Like how cool would it be conceptually if they're talking about the invasion of Ionia and stuff like that, and then the Black Rose pops up there again, and like what if they're doing something with the Yordles, and like there's some involvement of the Black Rose there. Like it could be a cool sort of like connective tissue across these series. I just don't know if that's the level of ambition they're aiming for with this yet. So I guess I'm kind of curious to see what happens in the final act with that.
But I think for me, as far as like episode 5 itself went, I had fully forgotten about basically like the sub storyline for Singe and about Singe's daughter.
Right.
And man, when I like just remembered, and they kind of showed Singe's daughter again, and kind of like his whole reason for everything that he's doing, I can't explain like the smile on my face when I remembered this whole thread and all the theorizing that went into Arcane season 1 on what Singed was doing and like who his daughter was, and I was like, oh man, I am really really interested in seeing like how this is going to probably intertwine. I feel like has to intertwine with Victor's story.
I'm also curious if that character, the daughter, is Oriana, because
it's Oriana. It's
obvious, right? Okay.
Like once they dropped Singed's real name, it's confirmed Oriana.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's a little bit of a blind spot on the lore. Many blind spots on the lore, but that is one of them where I didn't know. So
that is actually a really weird thing. Okay,
talk about it.
As a part of this kind of like story or this like plot thread, Caitlyn and Ambessa are kind of talking to Singed, and they are talking about like the origin of Shimmer.
Yes.
And as a part of talking about the origin of Shimmer, they're talking about this one person who disappeared, and they kind of dropped like Singed's real name as being I think like Count Reverick. I can't remember if he was a count.
Dr. Reverick.
His name was like Reverick. Oh, Doctor, yeah. And I felt like just that was such a weird drop because I don't, at least to my like memory, don't remember them ever mentioning that name until now. And it just seemed weird to me that they would do that name drop within this story instead of having his name show up as more of an Easter egg thing to link him to Oriana.
I think it kind of fit within the sort of story progression that they're going for, but yeah, it could have used a little bit of foreshadowing from a previous season. Mind you, like they don't have that many prior episodes, I think one of the things this season that when I look back on all the episodes combined, I do feel like I'm gonna complain about how fast things move this year.
Yes, I think that actually everything is moving very, very fast.
Extremely
in terms
fast.
Of story.
Yeah, in a way where like I didn't even know Mel got kidnapped. Like I don't know if that was brought up in a previous episode. Like I didn't realize she was kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was at the end of episode 3.
Okay, completely missed that. So my bad. Mm-hmm. And then even like something like this reveal, right, where it's like you don't have a lot of time to build up towards it, so you just kind of have to drop it as sort of like a lore dump. And I feel like that's one of the side effects of going as quickly as they are this year.
Yeah.
But it's not a big complaint. It is just that like they are trying to skip through a lot of stuff, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jaren, have you had a chance to look up Warwick's yet?
So I feel like since I don't have a affinity of League of Legends, where I'm looking at Warwick's, classic League design, he looks like John Talbot from Darkstalkers, classic werewolf man, buff werewolf man. And after some digging and scrubbing through the episode, I'm seeing Warwick in Arcane looking more like, at some points he looks like more so a Batman, a Batman, the Batman, but a Batman. Others, he's more reminiscent of a, Beast from Beauty and the Beast, where I'd argue to him rather than John Talbot, where maybe it's just because I don't have any affinity for the original League design, but looking at his Arcane design, I'm not batting an eye that much just because I feel like that's kind of in line with the style of what I remember watching from the first few episodes of Arcane that I did watch. And I kind of, relate it back to Jinx in Arcane doesn't look like the Jinx I'm used to in League of Legends. So I can see why people might not like it, but I don't hate it, I guess. Maybe I'm just, maybe I'm not the target audience for Arcane where I'll feel some ways, but I think it's decent for the overall style of what Arcane has at least presented to me.
Fair, but I do think Matt and I might be more in the minority with this because I haven't seen any discourse around people hating the design.
Yes.
So, I think we might just be the outliers here. I think more people are forgiving of the design choices made because I think, yeah, like at some point they do have to make their own decisions with these things. But I think maybe for me, it's just kind of like this idea of I was expecting a werewolf. I don't feel like I got a werewolf.
For the world that Arcane has been building through, these 2 seasons, does a proper werewolf, have a place in this world, or does, this man beast better fit it aesthetically?
I think something middle ground would have been fine for me, right? Like, it could still be like a beast-like creature, just with more wolf-like qualities on the face.
Yeah, I think that's my big issue. It's not wolf enough.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I immediately went to man beast or like man bat rather than werewolf. Yeah, if you guys didn't preface this by saying, oh, he's supposed to be a werewolf, I would just think he's generic, man-made monster rather than werewolf. So yeah. I see where you guys are coming from, but
I don't think it's the bad design. It's just, it's not what I was expecting, and that's why I don't like it, right? Like, it's that typical, like, the typical, like, oh, it's not what I expected kind of thing. For me personally.
That's fair. How many more episodes in the season left?
There should be 3 more episodes.
Right, okay. And I guess since you guys will go into it once you finished it, I guess my question to you guys is, based on what you've watched so far, kind of an extension to what I kind of asked last week as well. Now that you have a few more episodes under your belt, with you knowing beforehand that this will be the ending of this story in particular, or even just Jinx's and Vi's story, since you guys have mentioned that they are fast tracking a lot of things, are they on track at least for a satisfying conclusion, or are there some reservations now that, half the season is done?
I think that they are on track for a very satisfying Arc 3, because I feel like the ends, like where episode 6 ends, it's kind of, done the whole, all the dominoes are set up, now let's watch them fall sort of like kind of ending. And I feel like it is going to be going to like a very hectic place for these next 3 episodes.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts, Rakush?
I, of course, still have to watch episode 6, so I can't really speak to that part too much. There is a part of me that feels like more things are being set up for future series than to be resolved in the next 4 episodes for me. 3 for Matt. So I'm kind of intrigued. I'm curious to see how they tie together some of these threads that feel quite loose for a show that only has 3 episodes left. But I think, like, I trust them. They've done a pretty good job through, like, 75% of the series so far, so why would I stop trusting them now? But some hesitation for sure, yeah.
I mean, I guess, like, just to, like, put some thoughts into, like, episode 6, without putting any spoilers out there. I think episode 6 is a very good, kind of, because we've discussed before how Arcane is, in essence, just 3 movies put together every season. And I think that this is a very good middle movie. The kind of conclusions that are reached in episode 6 are all very fun. I really like seeing Singed and Victor's interactions, just because I like that kind of like opposite scientists kind of interacting and talking about a thing. I like the ending montage in episode 6, or I guess like not the ending montage, but like that kind of like closing everything for episode 6 was very interesting to me because of the song choice, which kind of like came out of left field for me. But the more I kind of watch it, the more I enjoy this the way they kind of package the ending of episode 6.
Interesting. I'm excited. I'm probably going to watch it at the end of this recording. So, yeah, I'll definitely have more to talk about after it.
Cool. Well, you guys, I'm assuming you guys are watching Arcane on Netflix. And if you're not, I'm just going to assume.
Absolutely on Netflix.
But
very legit source.
One thing I'm watching on Netflix. You know what time it is, boys. The weekly Dandadan checklist or check-in. And this time it's episode 7. And on paper, this should be an episode that I don't like. Just because I say it a lot of the times on anime-adjacent episodes of the Mistake Zone. Don't like sad anime. And honestly, I don't like character background episodes, especially in the middle of an arc, where if you're typically when you tell me about a antagonist or a villain, that's kind of a snoozer episode for me. Like, I'm not here for tragic backstory, and yet episode 7 of Dandadan is all that. This is sad anime incarnate, based on all the reactions I've been seeing on TikTok. And of course, this is a character really just recap to what brought acrobatic Silky to where she is now and why she's a ghost who is, pining after Ira. And I think from a pure production standpoint, it starts off with that, first person perspective of a woman running in distress in a dark street. And I think just right away that immediately caught my attention, where they do revisit that particular scene and recontextualize it once we learn more about Silky, how she was a single mother doing what she had to do just for her daughter, and the tragedy that struck her, why she died, and the kind of aftermath of that, her death, where just revisiting that scene in particular for me was, I don't know, my eyes were wide open the whole time. And that's in between all the other, I think, production choices that really stood out to me, whether it be the flashbacks between the day-to-day life of, human Silky, or the way the camera would pan with her playing with her daughter in the apartment or giving her the dress. Just all these different techniques that I haven't seen, or we haven't seen, within the first 6 episodes of the series, where it's such a contrast. It's such a different story, at least to me, being told, that I was hooked immediately. And despite it being a really sad episode, I have to admit, I've watched this episode twice, fully paying attention, and then had it in the background a third time when I was doing my ZZZ dailies. Matt, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. But again, it was just, there's something about just how tragic this episode is, how it purposely is supposed to tug on your heartstrings, that really does it for me. And that all leads up to the climax of the episode of Turbo Granny revealing what happens to Silky after she tries to save Ira, and essentially having a fate worse than death, of just being forgotten, being thrown into the void. And we see, not only Momo breaking down, but Ira finally regaining consciousness and, giving Silky that proper goodbye, that daughter figure hug that she was longing after her death. And I don't know, it's just something about this episode in particular just grabbed my attention, where even though it was sad anime, even though it was a character villain backstory, it just hit all the right notes, and if kind of makes me not necessarily excited for the rest of the season, just because I do want to see what happens with Momo and Ken moving forward. But I think if there was some sort of anthology adjacent to this show that just shows the history of yokai in general, and this could, for all I know, be an anime series already, but having such care and detail being put into the stories of yokai all of a sudden sounds a lot more interesting to me than I thought it would be. So, yeah, I can't, praise this episode enough, just from the backstory to even just how Ira really redeems that delusional character of hers and just shows her empathy and compassion at the end. Really stood with me. But at the same time, it also got me thinking of, as a viewer, and my relationship to, media like this, whose main goal is to kind of tug at your heartstrings, and why we necessarily like it. Where by the end of this episode, I was thinking of another anime that I haven't really talked about on this show before, but have any of you guys watched, I believe it's Kotaro Lives Alone?
That's the one with the baby that lives alone.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
I have not.
Where, again, that was, an anime solely produced to tug at your heartstrings. And I guess, Rakush, since you have, some viewing experience with it, how do you feel about essentially tragedy anime or media in general, whose sole purpose is to kind of force that reaction into you? Like, is it something you're into? Is it something that you might kind of find not necessarily exploitative, but, maybe less than ideal?
I think it's a great question. I think it does depend on a case-by-case basis, specifically how the author treats the situations. If you're just doing it for the shock value, then, I don't think it's going to land all that well, right? And kind of tying it back to Dandadan, I think this is kind of the secret sauce for the series, is that at its surface level, it's extremely high in style points, right? You watch it, you get the intro, and you do everything, and it's this is a cool anime. It's a stylish anime. Harkens back to a lot of those Adult Swim animes that it's oh yeah, this is super cool and stuff. But a lot of times those series could typically kind of fall a little bit flat once you get into the story or the substance of the story itself. But not with this one, because I feel these flashbacks are a bit of a pattern, by the way. You are just going to get that throughout the series. But every single time a flashback happens, you get some sort of humanity added back to these inhumane characters, right? Akurasoki is, for all intents and purposes, introduced as a monster. It shouldn't have been anything more than a monster of the week. And yet, these 15-20 minutes from this episode really just kind of elevated this monster to a character and into a very sympathetic character. And I think this episode was probably the first episode where I was this is better than the manga itself. And the manga was already quite strong with this scene too. But the way just everything comes together, the music, the voice acting, the pacing, the animation, even the way they animated that scene with the night sky and the stars and the reflection in the water and stuff as well. It was beautiful through and through, right? And I think in those moments, I can absolutely appreciate when they tug at your heartstrings, because even if I'm not sitting there crying, which is the reaction they are likely looking for, I can at least appreciate just how much care goes into those scenes. And I think that's what I got with this episode.
No, definitely. Where I think you touched a point that, really resonated with me too, of, on its surface, as you said, this should have been a monster of the week, but for them to flip it in a way, to show the humanity behind Silky, it makes me really excited just to see, okay, this isn't your typical shonen anime, even though Matt prefaced that to me before, where, you're not just having monsters, at least I hope moving forward, you're not having monsters just thrown in front of you for the sake of getting beat up. But, if they're going to continue just exploring how much depth these characters could potentially have, and maybe there are some non-combat solutions, I think that could be really fun. And just this idea of the void, it gives me a pit in my stomach. But again, just Ira coming out at the end saying that she won't forget about Silky made that scene really feel powerful to me. Just because, I guess getting older and just having all those existential thoughts at night, just having that comforting scene to cap off this episode, I thought was really fun. And then after that emotional train wreck, it flips to Turbo Granny running around the house in the ED. Always fun.
Yeah, it was like, that always was a fun. Very jarred cut, honestly. Like, almost immediately. Like, there was no, like, denouement in the music or anything. It just goes from, like, that scene to the ending. It's like, well, okay, the episode's done, I guess.
If there was ever a time for a stylized ED of a somber song playing with Momo and Ken watching Ira just standing there as Silky faded away, that would have been the time. But, I'll take Turbo Granny hijinks in particular. But speaking about, just having this emotional attachment to a episode or a piece of media, I also wanted to touch upon real quickly the latest chapter of The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All. Chapter 109, Pretend Family. And, I said this last year when we briefly talked about it, Matt, during our year in review episode, where this was probably my favorite manga, or at least webcomic of 2023. And the way the story has unfolded in 2024, especially when it comes to the adult characters of, Uncle Joe and Kana, where they've always... So The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All has always been a story between Mitsuki and Aya. And, just seeing their relationship develop, Mitsuki being more herself, especially in the school environment after essentially being outed by random people. Of course, there's some allegory there. Of course, there's some things you can dig deep into. But I think within the perimeter of the story being told this year, it was Joe and Kana that especially resonated with me, just because for all intents and purposes, they're the adults of this manga. And while they're not supposed to be in the forefront, you can see a lot of, parallels between their relationship and what Mitsuki and Aya could potentially run into, where, Joe is this more so carefree, free-spirited guardian for Mitsuki, while Kana comes to visit, and we get to see a peek of their past relationship and why they haven't essentially become more than what they are now. And I think I really appreciated chapters 108 and 109 specifically, just because we get to see insight between Joe and Kana, but more so Kana and her feelings of being treated as a mother figure in a situation that, even though it's hers right now, should have been actually hers if her and Joe actually ran with their relationship back in the day. So I think this, similar to episode 7 of Dandadan, this is a chapter that I've read countless times throughout the few days it's been live, just because there's just something about adult situations in this slice of life Yuri manga that is just so appealing to me, where it goes back to what I liked about the more recent chapters of Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, of adults.
Are you just on Reddit reading these things, Jaren? These are like two of the most popular on Reddit, so like it feels like...
Honestly, I don't read. I don't step into Reddit adjacent manga
fair
subreddits or anime subreddits out of just my mental. But
fair enough.
These two have stuck out to me, Rakush, that I told Matt before, in just that even though I might love slice of life anime or manga adjacent stories, they're mostly teen stories, and it's that you don't want to be the mid-aged person who peaked in high school and is trying to relive their glory days as the quarterback, sure, so to say. But there's something about seeing adults deal with, in particular, the status quo of their relationships and being terrified to go beyond that as a adult who also deals with the idea of the status quo at their age is both terrifying but yet really comforting to read, where you want to root for these characters, but there's something about them being closer to your age than you being closer to the ages of, the high school characters, that makes it hit a lot harder, where for the characters like Mitsuki and Aya, you're rooting for them actively. But for Joe and Kana, for me in particular, it's, not everyone can have happy endings. And as much as you want the happy ending for Aya and Mitsuki, for Joe and Kana, for Kana to essentially say, I think you putting me in this situation of having this pretend family is actually really shitty, so I have to leave this situation. I don't know, I find that oddly refreshing and tragic at the same time, where I think it has such a good balance between the two stories for a side story, in contrast to the main one of our protagonists, that I don't know, I just love this chapter so much. And maybe I'm in my tragic era of anime, but Matt, Rakush, maybe sad anime is okay sometimes.
Sad anime is okay a lot of times. Sharon, I need to send you a list of sad anime and sad dramas to watch. There's actually a good one I watched recently if you're into midlife existential crises for millennials.
I shouldn't be, but I am, Rakush, so I'll entertain that list.
I think you'll enjoy the future. Honestly. It's actually a live action thing on Amazon Prime as well, so maybe we can chat about it on a later episode. But
okay, if I can second monitor it while grinding my ZZZ dailies, more so possible.
Yeah, I think that's how I watched it. So. Yeah.
Chapter 109, Pretend Family of the guy she was interested wasn't a guy at all. Again, not so much progress on the Mitsuki Aya front, but if you love Joe and Kana, heartbreaking, but great all the same. But that's my sad anime corner for the week. Matt, Rakush, anything else this week to catch your attention?
Matt, you got any sad animes?
No, I prefer to take the, I guess, like anime route away from sadness, which is isekai, which is about where I live.
Right. So if someone were to die in a sad anime, you just imagine that they're in an isekai instead of dead. Got it. Okay.
Before we move on and close out the episode, speaking about isekai,
all right, I'm going to leave this episode. I'll talk to you later.
It's not so much isekai adjacent, but how do you guys feel when there's a manga that you've read for so long, years on years, and it gets a anime adaptation? Like, I've been finding it weird that a lot of the manga, both, above board and below board, Matt knows what I mean, is getting adapted. Where when that happens, how do you guys usually feel about it? I know it probably depends on the work, but just in general, like, what's your reaction when something you followed for so long gets adapted?
There's a certain pride to it, right? Like, you've been following this thing from the get-go, and it's like you were there from the ground level, and you're watching the author hopefully succeed if, like, the adaptation is good. But yeah, I don't know. It's a cool feeling.
I mean, honestly, I'm so neutral towards the anime space that I don't have any strong feelings one way or another about it.
Fair. I think for me in particular, I'll usually say, hot, that's cool. But depending on the property, there's been some releases, especially of late, that I'll raise an eyebrow and think, wonder how much they can get away with on Japanese TV at this point. But boys, another beefy boy episode. But we can't end without one more Don't Match Me challenge for the week. And I think I've been going back and forth of what to do with my Don't Match challenge this week. but I think I landed somewhere. It's food adjacent, and I think Rakush might. I'm curious to see what Rakush thinks about it by the end of it. But for review, the Don't Match Me challenge is simple. Hey man, you're saying stuff, not me.
I'm messing with you.
So the Don't Match Me challenge is simple. I'm going to go through 5 questions, 5 categories, and all you have to do is think of an answer that doesn't match my answer. I know we typically say that, it's a podcast, it's an audio diary. You can pause it if you don't know what we're talking about, but I think this one's also pretty general. So for an extra hard challenge, just go off the top of your dome. Normal mode is don't match my answer, but hard mode will be don't match Matt and Rakush's answer as well. But for my first question, name a beef food item or dish. Essentially, name something that has beef in it.
Oh, man.
So, name a beef food item or dish in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said a beef hot dog, you're out.
Ooh.
Beef hot dog? That's a unique one.
No, shout out to the Costco Glizzy, which is a beef hot dog.
Oh,
for bringing back Rakush full circle. That's a callback.
I feel like I essentially picked a fancy beef pogo, which is a beef Wellington.
Nice.
Okay,
Rakush?
Okay. I'm going with an Irish stew.
Okay. Question 2. Name any type of cake.
Oh, God.
Name any type of cake, whether it be a cake flavor. I guess it's a cake flavor. When I was trying to figure out how to word this question, are the cake types or cake flavors?
Cake type, right? I think it's a cake type.
Okay, I think if you say a cake type, you're moving into a birthday cake versus, or like, a traditional cake versus an ice cream cake versus a cheesecake. Or if you say flavors...
Stop giving away all the answers.
No, I'm just dropping. If you're saying flavors...
Okay,
There's like 3 answers right there.
I'm thinking of, like legitimate flavors. Like you'd also see across like ice creams, I guess.
All right.
So, okay, are we going flavors or types?
We'll go with flavors for now, since Matt went through all the types for us.
Thanks, Matt.
Name
no problem.
a cake flavor. No, Matt being the ref, having to blow the whistle. But
for the record, the 3 of us have not guessed one thing the exact same yet, from what I remember. We're actually out of winning streak.
I think I was out like 2 weeks ago on Jaren's last one.
I don't remember it, so let's just go with my shitty memory here.
Fair enough. But name a cake flavor in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went with the cake that was at every fam jam for me.
Ah, fuck.
The Black Forest cake.
Oh, thank God. Oh, my God.
Man. I went red velvet.
Damn it, man. God damn it.
You guys can match each other. You don't have to match me.
I went red velvet.
Yeah, me and you can match Rakush. We just have to not match Jaren.
I mumble those words. I went with red velvet, but that was we lost in hard mode.
I had a lot of Black Forest cakes growing up. Shout out to
that's my birthday cake.
Shout out to the Acco Bakery. Matt knows what I'm talking about.
Nice.
You might know
I do know
what
what
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Classic.
Okay. Question 3. Name a food that is normally deep fried. Name a food that you normally deep fry.
Okay, define normally. Because I have an answer. I just don't know if it's normally.
Let's just say name a food that can be deep fried.
Okay.
Or usually deep fried.
Okay, I think I have an answer.
Okay. But just any deep fried food in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Running it back. If I see you bringing fried chicken to a potluck, I'm a happy boy.
Oh, man. I went back one step as well, and I went to funnel cake.
Ooh, close. Okay. I went deep fried Mars bars.
Okay. Fair enough. Have you had one recently, Rakush?
No. I haven't eaten anything good in the last 2 months. Actually, right. This last week was alright, because I finally went and did my blood work, and I was like, nah, I need to treat myself. So I ate some fried chicken.
Okay.
But not a Mars bar.
So, number 4. Name an ingredient you typically find in a gumbo.
In a gumbo? Okay.
Yep. You can make gumbo. You can put anything in a gumbo. But name an ingredient you typically find in a gumbo. Usually associated with Southern cuisine. But when you think gumbo, what fixins do you think are inside? But name an ingredient you typically find in gumbo in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said shrimp, you're out.
Ooh. Jaren,
Nah, shrimp would have been too obvious.
Well, I went with shrimp's cousin, crab.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one, though. That's a good one. Rakush?
I figured you guys were going to go with the meat. So I'm actually going with the base, which is the mirepoix, which is the onions, the celery, and the carrots.
Nice.
Now, question for you. Would you consider rice as an ingredient of gumbo, or is that something you put gumbo on?
Based on the TikToks I watch, Rakush, they put rice inside the gumbo.
So you would consider it an ingredient?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know.
Me personally. And final question. You know, we went with flavor of cake before, but we'll end off with name a cookie flavor. Name a cookie flavor.
I got this.
So,
okay.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you went with oatmeal, you're out.
Ooh. I decided to play it risky, and I went with chocolate chip.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah.
Razor thin there, Matt. Razor thin. How about you, Rakush?
I'm going with an Oreo cookie.
Oh, that was the first one I thought.
Do love me an Oreo.
See, I was debating if it's a risky move or not, because I did not believe the two of you would go Oreo. So good guess there.
And that is my Don't Match Me challenge for the week. Rakush, what's my Don't Match Me challenge based off of?
Dungeon Meshi.
No. So,
Potluck.
Guys, since I have to mention my consumerism purchase of the week.
Food?
To celebrate the 20th anniversary of MF Doom's Food, I purchased the 20th anniversary of Food on vinyl. And even though I have a reprint on vinyl, Rakush, you know I had to buy that fancy artwork.
I feel it. Nah, I feel that. Dude.
You know I had to buy it.
I feel that. That's a good purchase. I will not be the one that
currently
talks you out of
sealed, but I'm hoping this week, us here in the Great White North, we'll have the Gladiator 2 popcorn buckets and drink cups, because I want those as well.
Yeah.
But
if you see him, if I don't see, if you see him, just send me a message, because I might want you to pick up a duplicate for me.
We'll do. Gotta pick up that Cineplex gift card to get the booklet, the coupon booklet as well. So
nice.
Need to go to a Cineplex. I need to go to the washroom because we recorded another Beefy Boy episode.
I feel like
this
just gonna be Beefy Boy now with like a third person here.
Yeah, probably.
I apologize, Matt Alba, but I also want to thank Matt Alba for joining me this week, editing this podcast, and also playing Holocure and watching Arcane. Hey. Thanks, Matt. Oh.
And, as always, gotta throw thanks over to Jaren for, hosting this episode, bringing us some, sad anime, and reminding me that Holocure was getting an update this week.
Thanks, man. Also want to thank our boy, Rakush, for joining us this week, watching some Arcane, watching some sad anime with me, and having some lists of more sad media, because we are some sad boys.
Get ready to be sad, bro. You're going to be crying.
I'm already sad. Who else should we thank? I want to thank werewolves. I want to thank sad anime. I want to thank whoever brings fried chicken to the potluck. Don't want to thank people who bring pizza to potlucks. No, pizza no-go. I'm not above eating pizza, but at a potluck...
Would you rather eat a pizza or a Little Caesars pizza at a potluck?
Can't get that away for free, Rakush. That's part of the vault episode.
Good teaser.
Oh, man. But I'm hungry, but I need to use the washroom. So, Matt, please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of holding our bladder.